What? With this sword, 3 strong men in the early stage of Sunlight God were killed with one sword, someone said in shock. And this speed? Everyone in this hall has extraordinary eyesight, and the weakest among them are mid-stage sun gods. After seeing the performance of Chi-Ji and the others, everyone was shocked. When did Longtas and the others advance to the peak of the sun gods? As far as I know, Chi-Ji is only in the middle stage of the sun gods, right? The same goes for Thuras and Hades. What? This battle? It was 38 years ago. In other words, it was only 30 years before they disappeared, right? In 30 years, everyone's strength has improved by 1 level. This, what Chi-Ji and the others showed the strength, shocked everyone present. You must know that for those who are at the level of the sun god, it is too difficult to advance to the first level. Many people may not be able to advance from the middle stage of the sun god to the peak in thousands or 10,000 years, and even some strong people will stagnate. In the middle stage of the Ryeo heavenly god's lifetime, Chi-Ji's performance was completely beyond their expectations. It would be better if only one of the 5 of them, Chi-Ji, advanced to the peak of the sun god. It could be said to be a coincidence. But now that all 5 of them have advanced to the peak of the sun god, and it only took less than 30 years, this is absolutely unacceptable. Just a coincidence. For a moment, everyone couldn't help but think of the ancient sword god's inheritance. This is what the 5 of them have in common. Who is that black-haired young man? Why are Chi-Ji and the others so respectful to this young man? As if they are his subordinates? This is a formation. That black-haired young man's formation is so powerful that it can even be used by the powerful Sun Yao Tian god. Trapped, unbelievable. Is that young man the first person to enter the sword tomb of the ancient sword god? It is said that that kid also has black hair, and he is also a formation master. But I didn't hear that the sword tomb was closed at the beginning. Wasn't that kid already killed by Chi-Ji and the others? Why, gradually, everyone in the hall discovered something that shocked them, and that was Jason's identity. In the floating image, Chi-Ji and the other 5 were extremely respectful to Jason, and when fighting, Jason was obviously the main one, just like servants guarding their masters. The horror of Jason's formation and the identity of the Yashin medicine master made everyone present dumbfounded. The floating shadow ended, and everyone in the hall fell silent. No one who can stand here is a fool. Everyone had guessed something in their minds. Apparently, the ones originally sent to kill the black-haired young man and seize the sword god's inheritance, Chi-Ji, not only failed to kill the young man, but were subdued by the young man one by one and became his subordinates. And for some reason, the 5 Chi-Jis have all advanced to the peak of the sun gods. It seems that they are inseparable from the black-haired young man. Maybe he used this to subdue Chi-Ji and the others? However, everyone still has doubts. That is, even the black-haired young man helped Chi-Ji and the others advance to the peak of the sun god. With Chi-Ji's character, it was impossible for them to leave their own power and all turn to that young man. There must be some hidden secret. For a moment, no one made a sound in the entire hall, everyone was thinking silently. At the same time, a doubt could not help but arise in their hearts, that is, who is the black-haired young man? Black-haired young man, Black Ape, sub-god pharmacist? At the top of the hall, barbarian god Lon was lost in thought. The fingers of his right hand were slightly bent and tapping slightly on the recliner. He felt as if something was appearing in his mind. He wanted to catch it, but he couldn't. What on earth is that? Why does that black-haired young man give me a familiar feeling? Barbarian god Lon murmured in his heart. Lord Barbarian God. Haven't you been looking for a formation master for His Majesty the God King? This black-haired young man is so accomplished in formations. It is obvious that he has at least reached the level of a 5th-grade formation master. If he can be dedicated to God Your Majesty, I believe His Majesty the God King will be extremely happy. At this moment, a strong man under Barbarian God Lon spoke up. This strong man stood at the front of the hall, and he obviously had a very noble status in the entire hall, second only to the barbarian god Lon. Master of formation? His Majesty the God King? The strong man's words caused a flash of light in barbarian god Lon's mind. Wow! Barbarian god Lon stood up suddenly, his eyes showing an extremely excited look, and his actions shocked everyone present. The black-haired young man, the black ape, the sub-god pharmacist, the formation because of the excitement, the body of barbarian god Lon was trembling slightly. No wonder I feel so familiar. I see, this black-haired young man's information is actually the same as the first genius of Stern Continent, Jason, is exactly the same. Did he ascend to the heavenly god realm? The two invasions of Stern Continent by the heavenly god realm were both led by the dark god king, and the strong men they sent were also, they are all subordinates of barbarian god Lon, so barbarian god Lon also knew some information about Jason from the feedback from the strong men sent out, so he thought of Jason. No, suddenly, barbarian god Lon frowned again. According to the information, Jason from Stern Continent is only a spiritual god-level strongman, but this black-haired young man from Thunder Island is obviously they have reached the realm of the sun god. Everything else is the same, but in terms of strength, the two of them are not matched at all. Barbarian god Lon couldn't help but be confused again. Forget it, no matter what, this matter must be reported to His Majesty the God King. Just as he made up his mind, barbarian god Lon suddenly shook his body and disappeared into the hall, leaving only a group of strong men below who were looking at each other. Bye. Time passes by slowly, and in the blink of an eye, 50 years pass again. Boom. In the endless void, a stream of light passed by like lightning. The speed was shocking. In the distance, a misty wasteland appeared. On top of the wasteland, green mist lingered, full of a strange atmosphere. Nightmare Swamp is one of the 3 ultimate forbidden areas in the Tianlu Basin. It is shrouded in poisonous gas all year round, with a range of millions of miles. There are countless terrifying spiritual beasts lurking, and elixirs are everywhere. It is the favorite treasure hunting place for many powerful people in the Tianlu Basin. However, it is also the most dangerous place in the Tianlu Valley, swallowing up the lives of countless god-level experts every year. Normally, as a god-level powerhouse, his body is entirely composed of divine power, and ordinary poisonous gas can no longer harm him, but this is different in this Nightmare Swamp. The poisonous gas in it is extremely special. It can not only corrode the body composed of divine power, but also the poisonous mist in its deepest parts can directly erode the souls of god-level experts, and the most core place is even inaccessible to the invincible powerhouses of Sun Yao Tian. It is one of the most famous Jedi. Who? Outside the boundless Nightmare Swamp, a figure suddenly tore through the void and appeared. This was a young man with long black hair, looking into the Nightmare Swamp. 88 years have passed, and I finally arrived in this Nightmare Swamp. Looking at the lingering poisonous fog in front of him, a smile appeared on Jason's face. After 88 years of constant traveling, even Jason felt a little bored. However, in these 88 years, Jason's gains were huge. The heart of the God King of his ancestor Stern had been refined by him. A full third of the time, Jason is much stronger now than before, and can truly be regarded as a half-step God King. Whoosh! Looking at the Nightmare Swamp filled with green poisonous mist in front of him, Jason rushed into it. Chi-chi! As soon as he entered the Nightmare Swamp, Jason felt a trace of green mist trying to erode his body, but it could only linger on Jason's surface and could not enter his body. This poisonous mist actually possesses a trace of Tao rules, and it is corroded by rules. No wonder even the invincible powerhouse of Sun Yao Tian God cannot bear it. Jason, as the god of medicine, can decompose, refine, and detect everything in the world. He can instantly. It is discovered that the particles that make up these green mist contain a trace of the law of the Great Road. No wonder it can corrode the god-level powerhouse. Of course, after reaching Jason's level, the many forbidden areas in the god realm, except for a few, are basically completely unable to cause harm to Jason. Huh. Jason's body rushed directly into the sky full of green mist. When he arrived at the nightmare swamp, Jason no longer had to rush. Instead, he slowly went deeper inside. At the same time, his eyes could also find that in this nightmare swamp, there are some elixirs growing everywhere. Most of them are holy elixirs, and after digging deeper, low-grade elixirs are actually not uncommon. But what makes Jason strange is that according to normal rules, the entire nightmare swamp has a radius of 1 million miles, and the distance from the edge to the core area is about 50,000 miles. Each level is 10,000 miles. As it goes deeper, the amount of fog will increase. They come more and more, and they become more and more terrifying. Usually, if they go deep into a place of 20,000 miles, people below the level of gods cannot enter, and if they go deep into 30,000 miles, people below the level of sun gods cannot enter, even the invincible Sun Yao god cannot enter. But now that Jason has arrived 30,000 miles away from the nightmare swamp, the fog in front of him has not increased. Although it still has a certain power, it may not even be able to harm the powerful star god. What's going on? Is there something going on in this nightmare swamp? Jason's brows couldn't help but frown slightly, and his consciousness spread slightly. Huh? Suddenly, Jason's consciousness scanned the traces of a large number of warrior activities at a depth of 40,000 miles. Huh? Jason's body swayed and he came directly to the place 40,000 miles deep. Here, the green poisonous mist in the sky finally began to become thicker, reaching the point where the strong sunlight god could enter, but here in a place where the thick poisonous fog is thin outside, groups of soldiers wearing bright silver armor are patrolling back and forth. Who is it? Seeing Jason flying over, a group of soldiers flew into the sky and stopped Jason. Lord Luotian's Lingyao army is performing a mission. The rest of the gang should retreat immediately. The leading captain looked at Jason and shouted coldly. Luotian? Lingyao army? Jason thought for a moment, then understood immediately, and his expression suddenly changed. 51-0 This god Luo is one of the 4 great generals under Beiyu God King. He is in charge of the Lingyao domain in the Mirror of Beizhou, the territory under Beiyu God King. The soldiers of that Lingyao domain are also called Lingyao army. The area under the command of a god king is usually extremely vast and includes multiple domains. The masters of these domains are all invincible beings of the sun god. In addition, a god king also has many messengers of the god king under his command, but the god generals do not many, usually only a few. As for the most pinnacle figures among the many divine king envoys and palace masters, they can be called divine generals. Just like the East Pole god King Stern, there were 28 palace masters and envoys under his command at that time, but there were only 5 god generals who had the 5-element spirit orbs, including the killing god Brat. In terms of strength, the killing god Bu, the 5 lots are far superior to the ordinary invincible warriors of the sun god, and they have treasures bestowed by the god king. They are the strongest fighting force under the god king. There are 4 great generals under the command of Beiyu God King, and Luo God Kaka is one of them. Humph, didn't you hear that? When the leading captain saw Jason's indifference, his face suddenly darkened, and a murderous intent filled the air. Huh. More than a dozen soldiers around him also surrounded Jason. Jason glanced at the other party coldly. Ah. The leading captain felt an invisible divine power rushing through his mind. His eyes suddenly widened, and then his whole body suddenly exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Pung! 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 After the captain, all the more than 10 Lingyao army soldiers surrounding Jason exploded, and the bright law god chains were scattered on the ground. What are the gods Luo under King Beiyu doing here in the nightmare swamp? And they have brought so many troops. Could it be that their purpose is for the saints deep in the nightmare swamp? Jason's face was gloomy and he looked worriedly towards the deepest part of the nightmare swamp. Lord Jason, I'm afraid that the patriarch and the others are in danger. At the same time, a spiritual thought came from Jason's god of war tower. It was the old man of the Saint clan who made a worried sound after seeing all this. I understand. Jason nodded and swayed suddenly. Disappeared into the void. The deepest part of Nightmare Swamp. This is a peaceful place, with fresh fragrance in the air. No one knows that there is such a paradise in the deepest part of the Nightmare Swamp, one of the 3 most terrifying Jedi in the Tianhe River Basin. However, at this moment, this land, the peaceful land, is facing a huge crisis. Boom! Huge roars resounded one after another, earth-shattering explosions continued to sound, and terrifying waves of divine power were transmitted. Large tracts of trees collapsed. A mess. Everyone of the saints, I advise you to surrender obediently. Otherwise, once this formation is broken, you will definitely die. Surrender now. Maybe there is a glimmer of hope. A rumbling roar resounded throughout the world. In that nightmare, in the deepest part of the swamp, a white light shrouded, forming a semicircular cover. Outside the cover, a large number of densely packed gods were arranged, attacking the cover frantically. Boom boom boom, thousands of attacks from powerful gods surged above it, just like raindrops falling into water, causing ripples. But he still couldn't break through the formation. Form the Luotian formation and give me continuous attacks. I don't believe how long the Saint clan can last. Another cold shout rang out. Behind the countless powerful gods, 4 powerful men with terrifying auras stared coldly at the light shield in front of them, their expressions gloomy. Boom! Countless warriors took action at the same time, and the terrifying attack filled everything. A thick river of divine power surged forward, hitting the white light shield heavily, and a huge roar resounded. The light shield shook violently, but still persisted fiercely. The faces of the 4 strong men all looked ugly. Kakar. We have been here for 3 years, and we have not been able to take down this holy clan. His Majesty, the God King, is quite dissatisfied. A silver-white man with a huge tail behind him sneered. Frisia, I know what you're saying. His Majesty the God King can't do it himself, so he naturally lets us do it. But this holy race is not that easy to conquer. The red-haired man snorted coldly. If it hadn't been for the East Pole God King Stern, who arranged such a large formation for the saints back then, we wouldn't have needed to go to such trouble just based on the strength of the saints. Another one was covered in purple and had 2 horns on his head. Drink coldly. Well, the East Pole God King Stern has also fallen now. Although the remaining formation is strong, it is only because it is incomparable with the saints and has a trace of the East Pole God King Stern spirit. The reason why the king's power is part of it is that this formation can persist for so long. Now that so many years have passed, the power of the God King has long been exhausted. With this holy race alone, I am afraid that this formation will be broken by us in a few moments. Then, a man covered in green and exuding poisonous gas said with a ferocious smile. I really didn't expect that this saint would be hidden in the Nightmare Swamp in the Tianhe River Basin. No wonder no one has found it in these years. Even the poison god Ursi may not be able to enter the deepest part of this Nightmare Swamp. TSK. This time, if it weren't for the great 1000 purification mirror given to us by the King of Gods, we wouldn't be able to come here. Jinyat, the power god with purple body and double horns, sighed with emotion. It's almost done. When I tell you to take action later, the 4 of us will take action together to break through this formation. Luotian Kakar suddenly floated out from among the 4 people and shouted coldly. These 4 people are the 4 great generals under the command of the Bayu God King, the god of Luo Kakar, the god of fierce Frisia, the god of strength Januda, and the god of poison Ursi. While the 4 people were discussing, thousands of saints among the saints shrouded in white light looked at the many strong men outside the formation, their faces terrifying and very ugly. Clan leader, if we continue like this, once the Tianjue formation is breached, we will die without a burial place. Each of these thousands of saints were sitting cross-legged, with streams of rich life essence flowing from their bodies, desperately supporting the formation. On the land in front of them, many elixirs grew, and each of them had a number of it is extremely terrifying. The lowest level ones are low-grade magical medicines, while the vast majority are mid-grade magical medicines, and the most core part of them are even high-grade magical medicines. Boom! Another terrible attack came down, the formation shook, and many magical medicines exploded in front of everyone, and many of the tribesmen's faces were extremely pale. These are all children of the Saint clan. Because of the special relationship of the Saint clan, except for some wandering Saint clan members, only a few thousand people of the entire race have survived over the years, making it the rarest race. But among these tribesmen, even the weakest ones who are like children or teenagers have the strength of the star god, while the vast majority of adults are moonlight gods, and nearly 200 of them have reached the level of sunlight god. The realm and proportions are astonishing. Great Elder, are you ready for what I asked you to prepare? Among the thousands of saints, a master is always sitting in the middle of the formation. This is an old man. Although he is old, he has a pair of his eyes were piercing, and above his head, a cloud formed by elixir essence appeared, penetrating into the formation and maintaining the central operation of the formation. This old man is the patriarch of this holy clan. Patriarch, I have already arranged the things you ordered. But if you do this, you will be in danger. Otherwise, if I stop you, you will take the opportunity to leave. Beside the Saint clan leader, an old man said worriedly, his beard and hair are gray, and his demeanor is solemn, but at this moment, there is still worry and anxiety in his brows. No, now that Luoshin and the others have taken action, their main target must be me. And we don't have much magic medicine left. Otherwise, the formation will definitely be broken in a moment. You must remember that the formation will be broken later. Once broken, remember to lead your clan members to escape, and don't be reluctant to fight. Although there are many of them, there are not many more powerful sunlight gods than us. When the time comes, there may be a glimmer of hope in the chaos. Remember, you must fight for our holy clan. Leave a trace of blood. The clan leader said with a solemn face and no doubt. I understand. Well, if this happens, the holy spring of our holy clan will fall into the hands of Naluoshin and his group. Without the holy spring, there is no use even if there is a trace of blood left. The white-haired old man sighed with emotion. He shouted, with pain in his eyes. That's much better than the annihilation of the whole clan. The clan leader gritted his teeth, and suddenly his expression changed, and he looked outside the formation. Not good. Hercules' fist. Supreme poison attack. Snare Jotian. Mighty and powerful. Only 4 loud roars were heard, astonishing divine power broke through the void, and 4 torrents of divine power as thick as mountains were seen violently spurting out, and the sky was full of the gods' warriors. The attacks were combined together, and finally formed an astonishing current of divine power that destroyed the world and struck hard. This was an earth-shattering blow. Divine power surged, as if the ancient god king had descended into the world. Boom! That terrifying attack hit hard on the Saint clan's formation. The huge white formation shook violently, and finally shattered. The Saint clan leader turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood, let out a hoarse groan of pain, and half of his body suddenly sank. Patriarch! Patriarch, what's wrong with you? Many clan members were shocked and rushed forward. The formation is broken, everyone, run away. The leader of the holy clan let out a long roar, and his body suddenly rose into the sky. A dead branch suddenly appeared in his hand, and he swiped hard at the many gods' warriors rushing in front of him. Wow! A long river of colorful divine power washed past and swept away many gods' warriors. Suddenly, hundreds of gods evaporated into ashes under this blow. Kill! The sound of fighting rang out, and countless warriors like locusts rushed in densely, overwhelming the sky, without any fear at all. 51-0, flee, everyone, run away! The great elder roared, and thousands of saints rose into the sky, turned into streams of light, and fled in all directions. Boom! Terrible divine power surged, and the two sides collided in an instant, and an earth-shattering fight ensued. Want to escape? Luo god Kaka looked at the thousands of saints who rushed into the large number of warriors, and suddenly shouted, "Retreat!" Wow! The densely packed celestial warriors advanced and retreated in unison, and they all returned to Luo in an instant. Behind the four gods, Naluo god waved his hand, and a simple mirror suddenly appeared in his hand, shaking slightly. Buzz! A colorful light burst out from the mirror, filling the entire area. In the space, only the sounds of pops and pops were heard continuously, and the reclusive saint warriors fell from the void one after another, and were enveloped by a huge ball, surrounded by it. In the huge colorful ball, many of the thousands of saints were all enveloped. "Break it!" The leader of the holy clan shouted angrily, and slammed the dead branch in his hand against the wall of the colorful sphere. Bang! The membrane wall shook slightly, but it rebounded his attack. What? The face of the Saint clan leader suddenly changed. With the invincible strength of the Sun Yao god, he couldn't even break through the membrane wall with a full blow. Haha, the four of us are here in the name of His Majesty, the King of Gods. Do you think we are unprepared? Today, none of you can escape. Purify me. Luotian Kakar laughed loudly, and the great thousand purification mirror suddenly bloomed in his hand. A series of misty rays of light shone directly on the thousands of saints in the huge colorful ball. Ah! The thousands of saints suddenly screamed in pain, and traces of elixir essence escaped from their bodies and floated in the ball. Yu the patriarch and the great elder of the holy clan cried out in anger and attacked again and again, but they couldn't break the colorful ball. Haha! Don't waste any more energy. This is a treasure bestowed upon us by His Majesty, the God King. You cannot destroy it with your strength. Just be obediently purified by us into elixir essence and dedicated to His Majesty, the God King. The god laughed ferociously. Ah! The patriarch and the great elder of the holy clan began to be unable to resist the illumination of the misty light. The skin on their bodies cracked, and the elixir essence escaped. Why would God do this to our Saint clan? The Saint clan leader shouted angrily at Tianli. Even with the invincible strength of him and the great elder son Yao Tian God, they could not stop this light purification. Not to mention other tribesmen. Just when the saints were in extreme danger, suddenly a thunderbolt shook in the air. A mighty sword energy, like a sword energy spurting from the ancient times, washed away from a distance. Boom! It is impossible to describe the terror of this sword energy. The overwhelming sword energy spread out, and the poisonous mist that could easily kill the powerful sunlight god was everywhere they passed. They fled in panic. The void crackled and tore open, and the sword energy carrying the supreme sword intent washed directly into the powerful gods who were present like locusts. Hi! It was like a hot knife cutting into lard, without any pause. Wherever the sword energy passed, thousands of heavenly warriors melted instantly like white snow under the scorching sun. There was no scream, no resistance, no sound. Wuxi fell, and a huge hole appeared directly among the many warriors surrounding the saints. Boom! The sword energy effortlessly killed thousands of heavenly warriors without any pause. Once again, he slashed hard at the colorful ball wrapped around thousands of saints. Bang! Like a huge iron rod hitting the balloon hard, the colorful ball shattered directly, and countless streams of light shot out. The saints who were in extreme pain in the ball felt relaxed all over their bodies. The elixir essence floating around them returned and poured into their bodies, restoring them to their original state. Who is it? Whether it was the many warriors under the four great generals or the thousands of members of the Holy Clan who saw this scene. Everyone opened their eyes wide, especially the four great generals under God King Beiyu. They turned their heads in shock and looked at the place where the sword energy came from. This Dakian purifying mirror is the most precious treasure of the God King. Although in my eyes, the hand cannot exert 1,000th of its power. but it cannot be destroyed by the powerful gods. I am afraid that even if the four of us join forces, there is only a slight possibility. Who is the other party? Their hearts surged. Waves. At this time, he saw a young man with long black hair holding a black heavy sword and slowly walking out of the green poisonous mist. His speed was not fast, and he did not exude any special majesty, but just like this, the indifferent expression shocked the four people of Luoshan. This figure is none other than Jason, who came to Nightmare Swamp. Huh. Jason descended directly among the crowd, and then came to the front of the saints. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, the saints are safe and sound today. Jason said indifferently. The leader of the saint tribe and others looked at Jason, but they didn't express anything. The status of the saint tribe in the god realm was extremely tragic. No matter which force saw them, there was only one possibility, and that was to refine and obtain life essence. In the heart of the saint clan leader, he just fell from the hands of one strong man to another. If they are allowed to kill each other, maybe our holy clan will have a chance of survival. Suddenly, an idea floated in the mind of the saint clan leader. Who are you, Your Excellency? I am Kakar, the god of Luo. This is Frisia, the fierce god, Jinyu the god of strength, and Ursi, the poisonous god. We are the four great generals under the command of Bayu God King. We are serving Bayu God King. Your Majesty has ordered us to capture the saints. By opposing us like this, is it because you want to go against His Majesty, the God King? Luo god Kakar shouted coldly. If it were an ordinary Sun Yao Tian god who was invincible, they would have killed him long ago, but now the strength of the person in front of them has far exceeded their expectations. He is obviously not an ordinary person, even though he is a subordinate of Bayu God King. The four great generals are not afraid of anyone, but at this critical moment of subduing the saints, they must first complete the mission of His Majesty, the God King. After completing the mission, it will not be too late to take action against this bad guy. Going against His Majesty, the God King? Jason smiled coldly. I am really going to go against you. Today, none of you can escape. Immediately, Jason turned to look at the saints behind him. When the saint clan leader didn't understand what the other party was going to do, a blue light suddenly bloomed between Jason's eyebrows, and at the same time 8 figures appeared in front of the saint clan leader. Lord Patriarch, 3 of them knelt down directly in front of the saint clan's patriarch, crying bitterly. All the saints present were stunned. Lumar, is that you? When the leader of the holy tribe saw the old man, he immediately asked excitedly, and a group of holy tribe people behind him also talked about it. It's Elder Rommel and the others. It's been almost 1,000 years since Elder Lommel and the others left the Nightmare Swamp to find a new place to live. I thought they had fallen, but I didn't expect many years ago, when the East Pole god King Stern fell, the saints had already considered that their residence was unsafe. Therefore, during these tens of thousands of years, every few thousand years, the saints would send a small team to the outside world, looking for a new place to live, but because of the special status of the saints, no team has been able to come back safely over the years, but the saints have to continue to send strong men. This Rommel was sent by them nearly 1,000 years ago. However, like other teams, there was no news after they left. All the tribesmen thought they had perished, but they did not expect that they were back alive. Clan leader, it's us, we're back. The 3 of Rommel cried bitterly. They had been wandering outside for so many years and endured so much pain. The feeling of returning to the clan was so beautiful to them. Rommel, where have you been all these years? And who is this black-haired young man? How did you bring him to our clan? The leader of the Holy Clan asked through a message. Lord Patriarch, Great Elder, fellow tribesmen, this young man is a descendant of God King Stern, and comes from the plain below. When we were looking for a new place to live, we came to the Sea of Thunder immediately. Rommel he informed everyone present of all the divine messages about his encounter with Jason. What? Her Royal Highness is on him? Everyone present, including the leader of the Holy Clan, was stunned, and surprise suddenly appeared in their eyes. The Holy Clan is inherited from a single lineage. The abilities possessed by the royal clan are far beyond those of the ordinary clansman. Although the old man who is leading now claims to be the leader of the Saint clan, he does not have the true bloodline of the Saint King. In those days, the Dongji God King and the three great God Kings in the battle, the old patriarch of the Holy Clan also joined in, and finally died miserably. In addition, Lan Yugusan was taken to the Stern Continent by the East Pole God King, and no royal bloodline was born in the entire Saint clan. A large number of Saint clan people lost their abilities, which also led to the development of the Saint clan after tens of thousands of years. With reproduction and growth, the Saint clan has also declined more and more. You must know that in the heyday when the old patriarch was around, the entire Saint clan still had a population of nearly 100,000. Maybe for an ordinary tribe, a population of 100,000 is nothing. But for the Saint clan, it was a prosperous world. Arrogant. While the leader of the holy tribe was communicating with Rommel and the others, Jason and the four great generals, murderous intent has already burst out. It seems that you must go against us today. Anyway, we will let you know the consequences of offending His Majesty the God King. All the gods' warriors prepare to attack following the fierce shout of Luo God Kaka. Tens of thousands of celestial warriors surrounding the entire holy race raised their weapons at the same time and launched a fierce attack. Boom! Boom! Countless powerful attacks were like colorful streams of light falling from the sky, slamming hard at Jason. What is the scene like when tens of thousands of celestial warriors attack together? The monstrous light of divine power was like raindrops, converging into a vast river of divine power, and the astonishing attack tore the sky apart, leaving the world a vast expanse. No, let's fight back together. We must hold our position. Seeing this scene, the leader of the Saint clan was so shocked that his hair stood on end and he yelled, "No need!" Jason shouted coldly, and suddenly waved his big hand, "Who?" A huge five-color light enveloped all the saints present. Bang! 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 Meteor-like attacks bombarded the barrier formed by Jason, creating countless ripples on it, and a huge roar resounded. The divine power that annihilated everything swept forward, but it could not break through the light curtain formed by Jason. What? How could he be so arrogant? Who is this person? Kaka and the others were all shocked, and tens of thousands of god warriors took action together. Even they, the divine generals, have to avoid the edge for the time being and resist with all their strength. However, he failed to break through the black-haired man's defense. And all the saints present were stunned. Jason glanced at the large formation of the saints below and shouted coldly, "You guys go back. Quick, let's go back." Even though he didn't understand Jason's purpose, Rommel still shouted loudly and was the first to go back. Sweep down. Thousands of saints did not dare to stay and landed on their territory. Jason fired a series of chaotic auras from his hand, landing on the territory of the saints. Buzz. The formation that was originally defeated by Luoshan Kaka and the four men once again propped up, protecting all the saints. Everyone forms the Luo Tian formation and attacks together with me. Luo God Kaka roared. Who? In the sky, tens of thousands of warriors moved quickly, forming a unique formation, and then took action together. Boom! The sky collapsed, and tens of thousands of warriors took action together. This time it was no longer a scattered meteor attack, but a vast river of divine power, as if rushing out from the depths of the endless universe, washing through the future and past, sweeping everything. Humph! Jason snorted coldly, and slashed out with the black heavy sword in his hand. Whoosh! The seven-colored sword energy, containing the supreme sword intention, rushed out and collided with the long river of divine power. With a bang, it was like two planets colliding, and overwhelming divine power burst out from each other. The terrifying power swept across, and the entire nightmare swamp seemed to be shaken by this blow. What? The four Luotian were shocked and shouted at the same time, "Keep attacking!" Huh! Without any hesitation, the tens of thousands of God's warriors waved their weapons again, about to deliver a second blow. This Luotian formation can gather tens of thousands of heavenly warriors together to attack and defend the alliance. Unless this kid can kill all the heavenly warriors in one blow, he will only be able to withstand the endless attacks of tens of thousands of heavenly warriors. I don't believe he can continue keep at it. The eyes of Luotian Kaka and the four others flickered, and thoughts surged in their minds. Want to continue attacking? Facing the Luotian formation, composed of tens of thousands of heavenly warriors, a sneer quietly appeared on Jason's lips. Boom! 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 The moment before tens of thousands of gods launched their attack, Jason suddenly swung his sword and struck out 8 swords in 8 directions. 8 colorful sword lights tore apart the world and broke into the tens of thousands of warriors. Boom! The Luotian formation, composed of tens of thousands of heavenly warriors, suddenly shook, and then burst apart. Pfft! The 8 sword lights rushed into the team of many god warriors like death scythes. The 8 swords passed by, and 8,000 god warriors fell instantly. What? How does this kid know the location of Luotian's great formation? Luotian Kaka and the other 4 shouted in shock. This Luotian formation has 8 formation eyes. Unless they attack together, and the intensity of the attack must be above the invincible Sun Yao God, it is possible to break through. After all, this is a large formation composed of tens of thousands of god warriors. Otherwise, no matter where they attack, the divine power of the attack will be borne by tens of thousands of celestial warriors. Even Luotian Kokker and the 4 others cannot break it, but the black-haired young man Luotian Kokker and the 4 others were shocked. Little did they know that although the Luotian formation was powerful, it was only a 5th grade formation. In front of Jason, the entire 6th grade Dasheng formation master, the Luotian formation was as full of loopholes as a fishing net and could be cracked easily. 8,000 heavenly warriors were killed with a single sword blow, and the formation was broken. The tens of thousands of heavenly warriors who were originally calm were all panicking at this moment. Although they were the troops under the 4 great generals, their hearts were as steely, even when faced with the same strength. Their armies, and even the more powerful teams, can fight bloody battles, but facing a terrifying strong man like Jason who could kill 8,000 of them with one sword, the fear in their hearts also surged. Wow! The originally neat team of tens of thousands of people was now in chaos. Do it! Luotian and the 4 others were furious, and Luotian suddenly raised the Dakian purifying mirror in his hand. The vast world, all-encompassing, illuminated by divine light, will fall into reincarnation forever. Luo God Kakar chanted, and a brilliant 7-color light bloomed from the great 1,000 purification mirror, just like a demon mirror, directly covering Jason. Buzz! Jason suddenly felt that the space around him was imprisoned, and his whole person seemed to have sunk into reincarnation. No matter how he tossed and turned, he could not escape the shackles of reincarnation. Hercules' fist. Supreme poison attack. Unparalleled might. At the moment when Luotian Kakar used the great 1,000 purification mirror, the 3 gods Jinuit, the god of poison, and Frisia, the poison god, taking action at the same time, the 3 torrents of divine power condensed together and evolved into huge dragon air currents rising up, causing the phenomenon of thousands of dragons ascending to the sky and rushing toward Jason. Death to us! The 4 great generals joined forces, the thunder vibrated, and they issued a full blow. Reincarnation, reincarnation? Humph, I, Jason, am reborn in the world to break the reincarnation and transcend the shackles. There are no more constraints in this world. Break them for me. Jason roared, slashed out with a sword, and with a crash, enveloped the world. His rays of light were shattered like a mirror, Jason's eyes were like lightning, like the devil walking out of hell, and he struck at the 3 great generals with a sword. Supreme sword intent, destroy everything. Crackling. The devastating sound resounded. Jason slashed out with his sword, and the sword intent was directly submerged into the torrent of divine power released by the three great generals. The supreme sword intent flowed, dissolving those dragon-shaped divine powers, and thousands of dragons ascended to the sky. In an instant, it turned into the destruction of thousands of dragons. No. Frisia and the other three were shocked. They never expected that the combined attack of the three of them could be broken so easily by Jason, and their faces showed a horrified light. Impossible, how could this kid be so strong? Luo Shinkaka was horrified in his heart. Who are they? The four great generals under the Beiyu God King are the invincible and powerful Sun Yao God, and one of the strongest men in the entire God realm except the God King. However, the four of them were actually struck by the sword of the black-haired young man. Breaking it open, who is that kid? The great thousand purifying mirror, the power of the God King, purifies eternity. Luo Shinkakar suddenly roared, and the layers of divine power in his body burned. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying breath burst out from his body, exuding a trace of divine power. As soon as the king's energy spread to the great thousand purification mirror, the entire mirror suddenly burst into brilliant light. Buzz! The colorful brilliance flowed, and countless light waves merged together, suddenly turning into a dazzling white light, just like a scorching sun appearing in Kaka's hand. With a hiss, the white light swept across the world and washed away fiercely. To Jason. Silent. This white light was extremely dazzling, and wherever it passed, the void was like water, evaporating layer by layer, destroying everything in the world. As one of the four great generals under the command of God King Beiyu, Luo Shinkaka possesses a trace of the power of the God King bestowed by God King Beiyu. Now facing a powerful enemy like Jason, he finally used it desperately, urging him to Dakian purifying mirror is about to kill Jason. Do it, don't hold anything back. With one blow, Luo Shinkaka yelled at the same time. The power of the God King can turn the world around. The King of Power can shoulder the three realms. The power of the God King can press the air for 9 days. The fierce God is born and suppresses the underworld. The power of the God King can destroy the common people, create illusions in the void, and poison the world. Li Shinji, Newt, the fierce god Frisia, and the poisonous god Quills also roared. From their bodies, the power of the God King rose up, and the three attacks that destroyed everything were like a torrential river rushing toward Jason. Hi! The white light emitted from the Dakian purification mirror directly hit Jason. This white light was not energy, but a rule. The power of this rule directly entered Jason's body, trying to purify Jason. All the divine power in Mori's body. Divine power can resist divine power, but it cannot resist rules. Rules are part of the operation of heaven and earth and the general outline of all things. Once Jason cannot resist the purification of rules, he will be purified by the rules, wipe out his consciousness, and become part of the Great Road. Chi-Chi. The divine power in Jason's body surged, as if it was about to be decomposed under the purification of the rules. Humph. Jason felt the purifying light in his body carefully, and suddenly snorted coldly, as the god of medicine, I, Jason, control the rules of the world and refine all things. You want to purify me, but your purifying light it is also one of all things in the world, the power of the god of medicine, refine it for me. Buzz. A vast power of the god of medicine rose up in Jason's body, directly refining the power of the rules of the purifying light into the great Tao. The origin of it becomes a great tonic and absorbed into the body. The power of the god of medicine, backlash. Jason waved his hand, and a mighty power of the god of medicine was like a torrent, flowing back along the light channel emitted by the great thousand purification mirror, and actually came directly to the great thousand purification mirror. Before, I wanted to refine it too. But at this moment, the attacks of the three poison gods had also arrived in front of Jason. The beads of rice also shine. Jason raised his sword eyebrows, and two supreme sword intentions burst out from his eyes. Wow! The sword in tension surged out, covering thousands of miles, and evolved into a 7-color divine sword that slashed forward. This divine sword was constructed from many kendo artistic conceptions, and it contained countless kinds of sword intent. Each type of sword slashed forward. The most profound secrets of swordsmanship are contained in the meaning. There are many branches in martial arts, and this swordsmanship is one of the most powerful branches in the martial arts of heaven and earth. The sword is the first of 100 weapons, the weapon of a gentleman, the most powerful and powerful, capable of killing everything in the world. With a sword slashed out, the light shone, and the supreme sword in tension soared into the sky, like the sun destroying the moon, and it was about to penetrate the entire sky of the god realm. The infinite sword light directly slashed at the poison god, Ursi, and the three of them were released. On top of the attack. Boom! A deafening roar resounded throughout the world, and the entire nightmare swamp was trembling and shaking. Jason's supreme sword intent slashed out, directly smashing the attacks of the poison god Quills and the three of them into pieces, and even turning them into millions. The sword light slashed hard on the three of them. Pfft! Poison god Quills and the other three were spitting blood wildly, cracks appeared on their bodies, and they were shattered into pieces. Their divine bodies were about to be shattered in an instant. On the other side, Jason's power of the medicine god quickly wrapped around Luo god Kaka's left hand, holding the great thousand purification mirror. Refining. The infinite power of the god of medicine circulated. As the invincible power of the sun god, Luotian Kakar suddenly felt that the divine power, condensed into his divine body, began to collapse under this terrible force. His entire left hand it actually melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into streams of the most primitive essence. Ah! Luotian Kaka roared in pain and retreated violently. At the same time, he wanted to grab the Dakian purification mirror with his right hand, but saw that the mirror directly turned into a rainbow light and was taken into Jason's hand. Chi-chi! As soon as the Dakian purification mirror entered Jason's hands, Jason felt a powerful force coming from the Dakian purification mirror. The Dakian purification mirror seemed to have autonomous consciousness and was constantly resisting and trying to escape. Jason's palm. Huh? Jason frowned slightly. This was the first time he felt the existence of the artifact spirit in the artifact. The weapon spirit is the consciousness that naturally arises after an artifact has been conceived for countless years. It is not life itself, but it has the will of life. This makes Jason, the god of medicine, very interested. However, at this time, Jason naturally does not have that much. He had time to study the weapon spirit carefully, and suddenly a supreme sword intent rushed out of his mind and struck directly on the weapon spirit. Buzz! The Dakian purification mirror whined and trembled in Jason's hand, and his original resistance was much smaller. In the void, Jason's cold eyes fell directly on Luotian Kaka and the others. Hateful! In the distance, the three poison gods, whose bodies collapsed under Jason's blow, reunited and gathered with Luo god Kakar, who had grown his left hand again. What should I do? Looking at Jason in front of them, the four poison gods showed a hint of fear in their hearts. This kid is too strong. If this continues, we will all die here. A cold stern flashed in Luotian Kaka's eyes. Now, there is only one way, and that is to ask His Majesty the God King to take action. Phew! After the words fell, a piece of black spiritual pattern parchment suddenly appeared in Luotian Kaka's hand. As soon as the spiritual pattern parchment appeared in the void, it burned with black flames, and at the same time a strange wave spread out. Between heaven and earth, a strange energy is condensing, and black energy is seen condensing in the sky at an extremely fast speed. This black energy is the power of God King Bayu, and a supreme pressure is exerted on the entire nightmare swamp. It spread, making everyone present feel frightened from the bottom of their hearts. This is feeling the crazy concentration of divine power in front of God Luo Kaka. The heads of the Holy Clan and others showed frightened eyes on their faces, and an inexplicable palpitation and fear rose from the bottom of their hearts, just like an ant facing a divine dragon that is about to ascend to heaven. It is the fear emanating from the deepest part of the heart. Even Jason's originally relaxed face gradually became serious. His eyes were staring coldly ahead, the black épée was tightly clenched in his hand, and he was filled with endless fighting spirit. A large amount of the power of the God King condensed in the void, and finally slowly transformed into a black giant dozens of meters tall. A terrifying coercion spread out. "Your Majesty, the God King." Luoshinkaka and the other four immediately knelt down respectfully, their eyes full of respect and admiration. Behind him, the sky-warming warriors of the gods had already knelt down with trembling bodies. Under the pressure of this terrible pressure, he buried his head deeply. The black giant appeared in the sky, overlooking the four great generals and many god warriors below, as well as Jason and the saint tribe behind Jason. Everyone felt like they were holding their breath, and their hearts were extremely nervous. Thousands of members of the saint tribe were even more frightened, not even daring to take a breath. The joy that Jason's appearance had brought to them completely disappeared, and a kind of helplessness and pain surged in their hearts. The God King is the supreme being in the God realm. No one can resist the pressure of the God King. No matter how powerful the god is, he is just like an ant in front of the God King. "Kakar, I asked you to subdue the saints, why didn't I see it? Instead, they summoned me. Did they encounter some problem?" The black giant looked at the four Kakars and rumbled. "Your Majesty, the God King. We were already about to subdue the saints, but a boy like this suddenly appeared and ruined our plan at the last moment. He also plundered the great thousand purification mirror given to us by His Majesty, the God King. We are defeated, so we ask His Majesty, the God King, to take action." Luoshinkakar and the other four spoke out. "Oh?" the black giant said indifferently, and then his eyes fell on Jason. "This look." But his eyes wrinkled slightly. Then he laughed loudly. "It turns out to be you, haha." The rumbling laughter resounded throughout the world, and the entire nightmare swamp was trembling. The black giant looked at Jason with a hint of joy. "It's really hard to find anywhere, and it takes no effort at all. Not long ago, the guy in the darkness told me that there was a little guy who ascended to the world of gods from the continent where the East Pole was. Let me check it out, and I didn't expect you. You actually threw yourself into a trap and dared to plunder the artifact that I, Bayu, refined. Okay, very good, I will accept you today and let you know that not everyone in the god realm can be arrogant." The black giant looked at Jason, there was a hint of contempt in his eyes. At the same time, he waved. Buzz. As if feeling the energy of God King Bayu, the Dakian purification mirror in Jason's hand suddenly trembled. The Dakian purification mirror that had gradually settled down was activated again, and seemed to break free from Jason's hands and return to Bayu. In the hands of King Yushin. Boom! As the Dakian purification mirror revived, a terrifying and vast divine power spread across the world, and the terrifying energy spread. Everyone was shocked. The Great Thousand Purifying Mirror is the supreme artifact controlled by the God King. The power exerted in the hands of the God King and in the hands of the gods are two completely different concepts. Is our Saint clan destined to be destroyed today? At this moment, the leader of the Saint clan and others showed pain in their hearts the moment God King Bayu appeared. They had long lost the mood to resist, but despite their strength, they were invincible to the gods of the sun. But in front of the God King, even the mood of resistance completely disappeared. Haha. However, just when the Saint clan leader and others were in despair, a sound of laughter suddenly resounded throughout the world. Jason slapped his palm out in the void, and an infinite divine power suddenly came from Jason's body. The right hand suddenly penetrated into the Great Thousand Purification Mirror. The Great Thousand Purification Mirror that had been activated again trembled violently in the void, and then calmed down again. Huh? The black giant frowned and his face suddenly sank, as if he wanted to see through Jason. You want to accept me? Well, you can take action, but I want to see who is accepting whom today. Jason's consciousness swept over the black giant, and a sneer appeared in the corner of his mouth. When the black giant appeared before, Jason's heart did sink, because he knew that although his current strength had improved by leaps and bounds, it was still not enough to meet the real God King. In a face-to-face battle, the opponent might punch him. They may be seriously injured or even die. The gap is not as big as usual. Only by absorbing another third of the ancestor Stern's heart of God King can we have a slight chance of resisting. After all, although he has absorbed 1/3 of the heart of the God King, he is still not the God King, and the divine power in his body is only the power of the God, not the power of the God King. There is a huge difference between the two. However, after the body of God King Bayu actually appeared, Jason's heart was relieved. This black giant seemed to be very powerful, but in fact it was just a projected incarnation of God King Bayu. The so-called projected incarnation, it's just that the God King used great means to directly condense the projection of the God King's power in the space at an infinite distance. It seems powerful, but in fact it is the same as the clone of the Thunder God King that he met on Thunder Island. It may be possible to deal with the invincible power of the ordinary sunlight god. There is no problem, but against the current Jason, there is no chance of winning. Boom! With a sneer on his lips, Jason surged forward. The black heavy sword in his hand turned into a black lightning and struck down towards the black giant. Facing a God King, Jason showed no fear or timidity. Instead, he took the lead. Such a scene stunned everyone present. Seeking death. The projection of Bayu God King was also furious. He roared out of thin air and punched Jason. Boom! The sky collapsed and the earth shattered. Black streaks of God King's power twisted and flowed like octopus tentacles, huge fists directly pressed down from the sky, and the endless and terrifying God King's aura spread out, seeming to blow Jason into powder with one punch. Humph! Jason sneered from the bottom of his heart. The black heavy sword fell on the opponent's big black fist without hesitation. The next moment, the sword intention of the ancient sword god in Jason's body completely burst out, turning into a supreme sword intention. Rush into the opponent's body. When Jason had just completely absorbed the ancient sword god's sword intention, he was able to fight the clone of the Thunder God King. Now after nearly 100 years of practice, Jason has completely transformed the ancient sword god's sword intention into his own. The power, now struck with a sword, is many times more powerful than before. Bang! Delu's voice resounded throughout the world, and Bayu God King's projection roared. Under the cutting power of Jason's supreme sword, his black giant was split into two halves, turning into black divine power that filled the sky and spread out. Come! What? The projection of Bayu God King was shocked. Apparently, he did not expect this to happen, and his figure suddenly retreated. Jason hit the target, so how could he give the opponent a chance? His body flashed in the void, and he came directly in front of the opponent as if teleporting, and struck down with another sword. Crack! A black thunder fell from the sky. The black thunder was as thick as a mountain, and there was a destructive power spreading in it. This thunder and lightning Bayu God King was shocked. In this black thunder, he actually felt an endless sense of destruction. Apart from the God King, there should be no other possibility for him to feel this kind of destructive power, but this black-haired boy God King Bayu was shocked in his heart. What he didn't know was that this black thunder was formed from a trace of the power of thunder combined with the power of chaos that Jason had experienced after refining the clone of the Thunder God King. As the god of medicine, Jason, after understanding the essence of power, in terms of understanding, it has reached a peak level. Although it does not have the power of the God King, the power of thunder combined with the power of chaos is not much weaker than the power of the God King. Boom! The black thunder landed directly on the head of Bayu God King. Bang! The protective shield on the body of Bayu God King shattered directly, turning into a flow of divine power and dissipating. The destructive meaning contained in the black thunder rushed directly into Bayu God King's body. Buzz. The tall black body of Bayu God King began to collapse. Damn it! God King Bayu roared angrily, and his supreme will spread out. His body that was about to collapse condensed again, and finally gradually solidified. But before he could completely condense into shape, the black heavy sword in Jason's hand had already formed again, chopping on his body. Bang! Just like a huge iron rod hitting a rotten wood, a sword intent from the ancient times burst out from Jason's black épée, fiercely impacting into the body of God King Bayu. Ah! God King Bayu roared, his huge black face showing an extremely frightened and angry look. His body collapsed and could no longer be condensed under Jason's attack. You dare to destroy my projection, boy! The angry voice of God King Bayu resounded, and in the distance, the 4 people of Luotian Kaka, who originally thought that the projection of His Majesty the God King would sweep across the invincible, were completely stunned. A projection is showing off its power and talking so much nonsense, so die. Jason snorted coldly, his eyes were cold and stern, as if 2 bolts of lightning were coming out, and the black heavy sword in his hand fell on the projection of Bayu God King again without hesitation. Bang! God King Bayu finally couldn't hold on. The huge black projection exploded under the slash of Jason's black heavy sword, turned into black airflow all over the sky, and disappeared into the void. What? His Majesty the God King Luotian Kaka and the other 4 were stunned, their faces turned pale. They couldn't believe the scene in front of them. Not only the 4 of them, but also the tens of thousands of god warriors present were completely shocked. Falling into sluggishness, for them, Lord Luotian, who is the invincible powerhouse of the Sun God, is already considered to be the most peak powerhouse. As for His Majesty the God King, he is the superpower who controls the entire world of gods, according to the rules incarnation. But now they all stared blankly at Jason standing proudly between heaven and earth. Their brains were as solid as cement, and their thoughts completely stopped. Then God King Bayu, the leader of the Holy Clan, and the others were also completely shocked. Jason killed the Bayu God King with one sword and turned his eyes to the 4 Luotian people. Boom! Before Jason could react, suddenly, from the dark depths of time and space in front of him, a terrifying aura that was almost as old as time passed through the air. Jason saw a huge fist. It was not an entity, but a condensed form of divine power. It was bigger than the sun in the sky. The power of the God King was flowing through the fist, and the fingerprints were like fingerprints. A natural chasm. This huge fist surged out from the dark depths of distant time and space, and hit Jason directly. Boy, if you dare to destroy my projection, I will smash you to pieces. A terrifying thought that overwhelmed the whole world was transmitted along the huge fist. Bow! With a loud bang, the fist poked out from the void, making a sound that made people's hearts explode. The entire space of the god realm was shaken, and the nightmare swamp seemed to sink. Jason's whole body was boiling with will. What a violent attack is this? Jason looked into the depths of the distant time and space, and vaguely saw that in the dark and distant depths of time and space, stood a tall, majestic figure, with a dark body, full of power, and a pair of cold eyes. Stare at yourself. Obviously it is the true body of the Bayu God King. There is no doubt that this punch was the projection of the body of Bayu God King being killed by Jason. At the other end of the distant time and space, he sent out his strongest blow, trying to kill Jason. The power of the God King is unparalleled. The body of Bayu God King may be far away in the depths of time and space, millions of miles away in the nightmare swamp, but he punched with all his strength. But it can break through layers of space barriers. Directly attacking Jason, this punch from the air was enough to hit the invincible powerhouse of the Sun Yao Tian God. Turn into ashes. Awesome, awesome, this is the true power of the God King. The blood boiled in Jason's heart. When he fought with the God of Thunder, Jason didn't take much action when the God of Thunder arrived. Jason had completely lost the ability to resist, and the God King's clone and God King's projection that he killed sounded like they were killed. The God King, in fact, these clones and projections are just a very weak trace of divine power separated by the God King, just like a hair missing from a mortal body. The two are not equal at all. At this moment, only then did Jason truly face the attack of the God King. At this moment, the fighting spirit in Jason's body burst out endlessly, his blood boiled, and his whole will was raised to the peak that he could reach. The failure to fight the Thunder King himself had always been a shortcoming in Jason's heart, but now it has finally faced it. It's too scary. Although I have absorbed 1/3 of the ancestor's heart of the God King, the divine power in my body has not yet transformed into the power of the God King. I am still far from the true God King. If this punch hits me, I don't know what will happen. What is the result? Now I am fighting against ordinary invincible masters of the Sun Yao Tian God. I can no longer feel the pressure at all, not even the clone of the God King. Only by facing the real God King can I stimulate the endless potential in my body. Understanding the supreme way of the God King, Jason's will continued to rise, his eyes became brighter, and finally reached a peak. Break it! At this moment, the sword intention in Jason's mind reached its peak. With a roar of anger in his mouth, the sky shattered, and the black heavy sword like a dragon slashed forward fiercely. Boom! Like a comet hitting the earth, a divine light that was so dazzling that it was impossible to open your eyes bloomed in an instant. Poof! Jason felt as if his body had been hit hard by an ancient behemoth. An almost irresistible force entered his body, and the meridians, flesh and blood in Jason's divine body at this moment, the layers exploded and blood splattered. However, this supreme punch from King Bayu also completely stimulated the demigod power in Jason's body. Chi-chi! Under this huge pressure, the heart of the God King in Jason's mind dissolved faster. In the blink of an eye, it seemed that 10 or decades had passed, and only 1/3 of it had dissolved. Nearly half of Yi's God King's heart was instantly dissolved. Boom! The demigod power in Jason's body finally transformed, and there was an inexplicable flow of breath. Jason's originally severely injured body healed instantly, without any scars anymore. Boy, Bayu God King, will kill you. Buzz! The void shattered, and Jason's consciousness felt that Bayu God King on the other side of the endless time and space roared with annoyance on his face, and everything returned nirvana, when the space channel completely disappeared. The Bayu God King is able to attack through time and space channels. In addition to his powerful strength, reversing the rules of heaven and earth, and changing the speed of time, it is also because of the trace of original consciousness left behind by the projection of the God King summoned by Luo God Kaka and the others before. But the failure of one blow caused his original consciousness to dissipate between heaven and earth. No matter how powerful Bayu God King was, he would not be able to travel through so much time and space to deliver a second blow. Run away, run away! With the strongest blow of the sword, Jason finally came back to his senses. He suddenly saw tens of thousands of god warriors flying away like locusts, densely packed. Terrifying, and now Luo Shen and other 4 great generals had already fled to nowhere. Want to escape? Jason couldn't help but sneer at the corner of his mouth, and 2 beams of light shot out from his eyes, directly penetrating the void of the nightmare swamp, and saw the 4 Luotian people running around hundreds of thousands of miles away. Die! A cold shout came from Jason's mouth. The divine light in Jason's eyes surged. The 4 sword lights were like meteors streaking across the sky, instantly penetrating a distance of tens of thousands of miles and slashing at the 4 great general. No! Luotian Kaka and the 4 people cried out in fear, trying to resist with all their strength. However, when the sword light passed by, everything was extinguished. Everything turned into nothingness and collapsed layer by layer. The Luo Shen and 4 people stared wide open. With horrified eyes, they watched helplessly as the sword light passed over their bodies and burned them to ashes. Regarding the celestial warriors who were fleeing all over the sky, Jason did not kill them wantonly, but allowed them to leave. Huh. Jason landed directly in front of the Saint Clan leader. Thank you for saving my life. At this moment, all the members of the Holy Clan couldn't help but kneel down, their hearts full of respect for Jason. Please get up. Jason waved his hand, and the thousands of members of the Holy Clan suddenly felt an invisible divine power supporting them and lifting them up. We are actually not safe yet. The Bayou God King will never give up. Although he is beyond reach now, I believe that with his strength, he will arrive soon. You pack your things quickly. Let's leave here first. Jason Lung Ran spoke out. Lord Jason, we can't leave. But at this moment, Elder Lumar, who was rescued by Jason from the God of Thunder, suddenly spoke out. Can't leave, why? Jason frowned. Sir, your highness the princess has now transformed into the holy tree. If she wants to be resurrected, she must soak in the divine water of the spring of life. However, only the royal family can use the secret method to carry this divine water of the spring of life. Now, the royal family of our holy clan, but her royal highness is the only one left, so Rommel said anxiously. Is that so? Jason frowned. Take me over and have a look. The group of people immediately walked towards the inside of the holy tribe. In this holy tribe, magic medicine can be seen growing everywhere. If it were before, Jason would I must be extremely happy to see so many magical medicines, and I have to feel them one by one, but Jason is not in that much mood now. A moment later, in a medicine field in the deepest part of the tribe, Jason felt an extremely strong breath of life. The elixirs growing in this medicine field turned out to be patches of high-grade magic medicine, and in that medicine field in the deepest part, there is a spring. The spring water flows gurglingly, with a diameter of about hundreds of meters. It is not known where it comes from, but it keeps gushing in the center of the spring and never dries up. This spring water, Jason took a step forward and dipped in some spring water. Suddenly, a rich life essence seeped into Jason's body. However, although this life essence was rich, it had little effect on the powerful gods. Only the saints can take it to enhance their cultivation. Clan leader, how can we resurrect Blue Moongusen? Jason asked the other party. Sir, it's actually very simple. After our saints die, they will turn into elixirs. In fact, the gods are not destroyed, but their vitality is exhausted. Therefore, we only need to place the princess in the middle of the spring of life and let her absorb the spring of life on her own. After the life force is restored, they will naturally be resurrected. After Jason communicated with the leader of the holy tribe, he realized that the resurrection of the holy tribe was so simple. Immediately, Jason no longer hesitated and directly took out the 3-inch-high holy tree from the God of War tower and placed it in the center of the fountain of life. Buzz. As soon as the holy tree transformed by Lan Yugusan entered the middle of the fountain of life, a large amount of life essence rushed over crazily, and the life breath in the holy tree also increased at an alarming speed. 49 days? In front of the fountain of life, Jason frowned slightly as he looked at the flourishing sacred tree in the spring. I learned from the leader of the Saint Clan that Lan Yugusan, as a member of the Saint Clan royal family, must be immersed in the fountain of life for 7 or 49 days before he can be resurrected. However, for Jason and the others, there is 49 days? Jason also knew from the Thunder God King that the God King shuttled across the continent very quickly. One reason why the Thunder God King was able to arrive so quickly was that Jason himself was in the Sea of Thunder, and the second reason was also the body of the God King Thunder Death also happened to be nearby, otherwise, it would not have been possible to arrive so quickly. Nowadays, this nightmare swamp is located in the middle of the areas of Dongji God King, Bayou God King, and Tianyun God King. However, after the death of East Pole God King Stern, the original territory was also occupied by Bayou God King and several other great God Kings. However, it still takes a certain amount of time for God King Bayu to come. It's just that Jason doesn't know how long it will take for the Bayu God King to come. If the other party arrives before Lan Yugusun is resurrected, then Lan Yugusun will be in danger. But Jason and the others couldn't leave. After all, Blue Moon Gusun had to be here to absorb the fountain of life. Forget it, it all depends on fate. I can only try to improve my strength during this period of time. Jason became cruel and made up his mind. Deep in the nightmare swamp, in the residence of the saints, Jason began to retreat. Thousands of members of the Holy Clan did not leave. In order to resurrect their princess as soon as possible, they all waited beside the fountain of life, instilling a large amount of life essence into the fountain of life every day. Crash! The life force with the origin of thousands of saints was washed by the spring water and transformed into the most primitive energy, and then condensed with the life breath in the spring of life to become streams of pure energy. Pfft. There were also some young members of the Saint clan who picked a large amount of magical medicine and used the unique elixir technology of the Saint clan to refine the magical medicine into elixir essence and put it into the life. In the spring, large tracts of magical medicine entered the spring water. The weakest among them is also a low-grade magical medicine, most of them are medium-grade magical medicines, and there are a large number of high-grade magical medicines. They are densely packed. The rich elixir essence irrigates them day and night, and actually forms a spiritual layer in the deepest part of the nightmare swamp. Clouds of medicinal essence. Wisps of elixir essence fell down, forming a gorgeous scenery. Time passes day by day in the blink of an eye. 49 days are fleeting. What Jason had been worried about finally didn't appear. On this day, Jason stood in front of the spring of life early on, looking at the blue moon ancient forest in the center of the spring. It took such a long time to absorb. The holy tree that was originally only 3 inches tall has now reached a height of more than 10 feet. The colorful light flows and falls from the sky. The thousands of saints who had consumed a lot of energy in the previous 49 days not only did not suffer any loss in strength under this energy, but actually increased to varying degrees. The elders of the saints like Lumar, who were originally only at the peak of the sun god, now have a few who have broken through to the invincibility of the sun god. And because of the influence of a large amount of elixir essence in this month and a half, coupled with the previous hundreds of years of training in the God of War Tower, Chi-Ji and the 5 people were promoted to the invincible realm of the Sunlight God without exception. The essence of the elixir is really too powerful. In the past month and a half, the entire Saint clan has invested almost all their savings over the past tens of thousands of years into it. There are hundreds of top-grade elixirs, thousands of mid-grade elixirs, and tens of thousands of elixirs. Tens of thousands of low-grade magical medicines were poured into the fountain of life, under the influence of so many magical medicines. Even Jason, who has reached the demigod state, has benefited greatly. Especially since Jason is the god of medicine, there are so many magical medicines, each of which is a rare treasure in the world, with an unusual structure and breadth, which makes Jason have a deeper understanding of life. Understanding. Buzz. Where the entire Saint tribe is located, Jason and thousands of other people are staring at the fountain of life in front of him. Finally, the sacred tree transformed by the blue moon ancient forest shook violently, and colorful rainbow light rose into the sky. Boom! I saw the colorful holy tree that was more than 10 feet high dancing crazily. A shadow slowly appeared in the void, and thousands of rays of light were like waterfalls. It fell from the sky and enveloped the entire holy tribe. This breath, that powerful breath. Even Jason, a powerful demigod, was shocked in his heart. However, what shocked Jason was not the power of this aura, but the properties of this aura. With the strength of Jason's medicine god, he can clearly feel that the surface of the sacred tree, which is more than 10 feet high, has not changed much, but the internal structure is undergoing transformation at an astonishing speed. The kind that is purely based on the essence of life, the holy tree cells, composed of it slowly transformed into the life breath of living things. Is this the transformation of life? Jason's eyes suddenly widened, as if a bolt of lightning passed through his heart, and his whole mind became extremely enlightened. The next moment, boom! A strange fluctuation of the laws of heaven and earth came, and an inexplicable pressure enveloped the blue moon ancient forest in the middle of the fountain of life. The aura and power on the holy tree also happened at this moment. A transformation that is completely new. The huge holy tree slowly shrank in front of everyone, and then turned into a misty shadow. At the same time, a human-shaped light and shadow was slowly born in the void, exuding the majesty of the avenue. Blue Moon Gusen is finally coming back to life. Jason clenched his fists, feeling extremely excited. At the same time, the process of Blue Moon Gusen's transformation also gave him a huge inspiration, making him feel like there was a seed in his heart. In germination. Wow! The divine power in Jason's mind could not help but surge up. The avenue belonging to the god of medicine felt like it was about to transform, sublimate, and transcend. Jason was surprised in his heart. Having received the inheritance from the ancient sword god, he naturally clearly understood the transformation of his medicine god's way at this moment. This was actually the same as the ancient sword god's sword way. After reaching the peak, it transformed again, which was the transformation towards the great way of the God King. In other words, at this moment, Jason was on the path of the god of medicine, and he actually wanted to transform into the realm of the God King on his own initiative. This kind of transformation is not the transformation of absorbing the heart of the God King, but a kind of evolution after the great Tao reaches its extreme. The result will be like the ancient sword god of the year, who can condense the heart of the God King on his own. If he succeeds, he will become the first self-propelled person in the world. A strong man who condenses the heart of the God King, and the result of failure is also very simple, that is, transformation. Haha, God help me. I didn't expect that I, Bayu, would actually encounter the transformation of a Saint Royal family. The Saint Royal family, haha, absorbing it will definitely make my Bayu strength one step closer. Right there, at this time, a rumbling roar suddenly resounded throughout the world, shocking everyone present. The expressions of everyone present changed greatly, and they looked at the tall figure walking out of the void. The black figure stood proudly between heaven and earth, as if it had turned into eternity, stepping out of the void and becoming the core of this world. This man's face looks ordinary, his hands are empty, and he doesn't have any weapons. However, on the top of his head, the true meaning of eternity appears, as if he is the master of heaven and earth. Bayu God King appeared in his body. Sensing the other party's aura, Jason's heart suddenly sank. This tall figure suddenly appeared, it was Bayu God King, one of the 7 great kings of the gods. Now is the critical moment for Lan Yu Gusen's resurrection. If he is broken through by the opponent, his previous efforts will be in vain. I said, Bayu, will kill you. God King Bayu walked slowly with a leisurely sneer on his face. With every step he took, the void shook, and the heaven and earth seemed to shake under his steps. What should we do now? Everyone present, including the Saint clan leader and others, panicked. The next moment, their expressions became extremely determined. No, we must not let this Bayu God King destroy the resurrection of Her Royal Highness. Jia. Sen's face was also livid, and he was thinking quickly about how to resist. Back then, you blocked my punch and escaped. Now I will let you know that in front of me, Bayu God King, you are not even as good as an ant, you damn ghost. The tall and stalwart Bayu God King suddenly shouted coldly and was shocked. Boom! Bayu God King blasted out his iron fist. Jipo killed him. The black iron fist came from the air and collapsed. For eternity, the gods have fallen, the heaven and the earth have collapsed, and everything in the world has been wiped out. This is the action of the God King, and the target is not the many members of the Saint clan, nor the blue-eared Gusen in the middle of the fountain of life, but Jason. Generally speaking, next, the God King will not personally deal with any of the powerful gods, because he is disdainful. After all, there is really a big difference between the two. Even the most terrifying among the gods, the invincible and powerful ones, will not be able to do anything in front of the God King. He is an ant-like existence that can be easily killed by condensing a projection. But now Jason has asked the true god of Bayu God King to personally come and take action. If word spreads, it will probably cause a sensation in the entire god realm. God King, how terrible would it be to take action? With one blow, the world would sink, and the sun and the moon would fall. Jason's real test has come. At the moment when King Bayu was surprised, the whole world seemed to have entered darkness. In the void, everything in the main area disappeared, only the iron fists were rapidly growing in size. The sword formation of the gods. Facing that sharp punch, Jason's eyes flashed. Phew, call out, MT. The 7 divine swords flew out from the center of his eyebrows, turning into a large formation and descending on the world. The misty 7-colored rainbow shrouded the atmosphere, and the aura of the divine sword formations rose to the highest level in an instant, and thousands of rays of light circulated. Constantly rising and falling, the aura of the formation that represents the ultimate level of the 6th grade formation rises into the sky. Huh, what a small skill. Bayu God King snorted coldly, and the huge iron fist hit the formation mercilessly. Boom! Like a flaming meteor rushing into the sea, the void suddenly shook, and the sword formation of gods displayed by Jason instantly there was a sudden turmoil, a crash, the great formation shattered, the divine sword formation suddenly shattered, the 7 divine swords screamed, shaking and trembling constantly, the invincible iron fist of Bayu God King instantly penetrated the great formation, with a kind of arrogance for the world. The momentum enveloped Jason's black giant fist, and the energy exploded across the time and space of the heaven. It was immeasurable, like a pillar of heaven collapsing and cracking. Normally, Jason could escape from this place even if he was defeated, but now it is Lawn at the most critical moment of Yugusan's resurrection. Jason had no choice but to fight back. The god of war is possessed, the god of medicine is immortal, the formation has no boundaries, and the sword's will is everywhere to turn the tide. In an instant, Jason raised his mind to the extreme and unleashed all his power. He knew that he could not afford to lose anything now. This was the most dangerous moment ever. If he was not careful, he would die immediately. This was nothing else. The man took action. It was the king of gods, the most invincible existence in the world of gods, who took action to kill. The black iron fist pressed forward, and a layer of rules of the Great Road suddenly appeared on Jason's body, which were all condensed with his own supreme thoughts and divine power. The god of medicine, the power, the rules of the formation, the will of the god of war, and the supreme sword intention, these avenues that Jason had climbed to the top all appeared one by one, spinning around him, exuding vast power one by one, from the mysterious time and space drawing strength from it. Jason seemed to be completely integrated with the world of gods, no longer separated from each other. Boom! The black iron fist was unimaginably powerful, and it hit hard on the energy in front of Jason, like a towering mountain collapsing. The power of the impact was unparalleled and terrifying. The energy in front of Jason was shattered layer by layer under this huge impact, like a huge ancient sacred mountain crushing a chicken. This is using the mountain to hit the egg. Kakakamji-sen's body continued to tremble under the punch of the Bayu God King, and the robe on his body was directly shattered by the wind of the punch. At the same time, all the protective powers of Jason's body that shone with the avenue veins were also broken. A series of blood meridians continued to spread on Jason's body, and the blood spurted out wildly, and then turned into streams of rich essence, dispersed in the void. Boom boom boom, Jason's body seemed to be ringing with a series of the explosion continued to make a muffled sound, and cells everywhere in the body were destroyed one by one. 1/3 of the originally powerful momentum was wiped out in the blink of an eye. Ah! 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 Jason let out a series of roars, his eyes were cracked, and blood was left from his eyes. However, his figure stood proudly in the void and never took a step back. He could not retreat. Once he retreated, the power of God King Yu will sweep across this world, and the thousands of saints behind him, including Lan Yugusan, Qi Ji, and others, will all fall. At this moment of life and death, Jason will release all the potential in his body. Buzzing, the shadows of the 5 spirit beads appeared above his head. Jason, who was about to collapse and be destroyed, suddenly got a chance to breathe under the breath of the 5 elements. The 5 elements spirit beads? You kid is indeed the descendant of that guy Stern, but unfortunately, you will definitely die today. Beiyu God King shouted again, sneered at the corner of his mouth, rushed forward. Suddenly, his iron fist swept across the border, and an indescribable terrifying combat power surged out of his body again. Bang, boom. Boom. Under the full blow of God King Beiyu, the phantoms of the 5 spirit beads above Jason's head suddenly exploded one after another. The aura that had just stabilized was hit hard again, as if his head was about to explode. The 5 elements spirit, the beads were spinning wildly, giving Jason a splitting headache. Damn it, no matter how much God King takes action, he can't destroy my invincible fighting power. I, Jason, am reborn in this world. If I can't even protect the people I want to protect, why am I still reborn? Stop me. Jason roared in his heart. A blue light suddenly bloomed between his eyebrows, and the blue light flickered, covering his whole body. He actually blocked the attack of God King Beiyu. However, Jason's divine body was already riddled with holes. There were countless cracks, and the whole person seemed to collapse. Pfft. Jason coughed out a mouthful of blood. He felt that all the meridians in his body were shattered, his divine power was in chaos, and no place was intact. What? God King Beiyu struck with all his strength, and despite repeated surprises, he still failed to kill Jason. His face suddenly darkened, and his heart was filled with anger and shock at the same time. Beiyu who? He is one of the 7 great god kings in the world of gods, the most supreme being. He can wipe out the invincible and powerful sun gods with a snap of his fingers. However, he has been unable to kill a god over and over again. Where will he put his face in the future? You brat, go to hell. At this moment, Beiyu God King was completely angry. His long gray hair was flying out of thin air. The void in the entire nightmare swamp was shattered layer by layer. Everything around him collapsed and was no longer there. Existence, and even the void in the entire Tianlu basin trembled, and a kind of aura of doomsday emerged. Boom. Beiyu God King's figure suddenly swept forward, time and space froze in an instant, and once again sent the most violent blow towards Jason's location. Bang! Everything in the world ceased to exist, and there was only a vast river of God King's power falling from the sky like a star river, sweeping towards the crumbling Jason. Ahem! Jason was coughing blood. Now his breath was less than half of what it was before, but the light in his eyes was getting stronger and stronger. Even if I die, I will not take a step back. A supreme belief surged in his heart, and his rickety body straightened up again, fiercely facing the attack of God King Beiyu. Quickly, send the life essence to the master, quickly. Don't let the master fall. Behind Jason, the leader of the Holy Clan had a look of fright and anger on his face, and shouted loudly. In a battle of this level, with their strength, it is impossible to join at all. Even the invincible and powerful Sun God will be wiped out in a single blow by the God King. However, as members of the Saint tribe, they can join the battle in another way. Hua hua hua! Under the shouts of the Saint clan leader, thousands of Saint clan members were all sitting cross-legged. Their eyes were extremely pious, looking at Jason who was risking his life to resist them in midair. Strands of rich life essence power immediately rose from their bodies and entered Jason's body. TSK. Thousands of saints are frantically transporting their life essence, and their faces are aging at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom 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 in the sky, the divine power barrier in front of Jason was shattered layer by layer. The God King's full punch was too terrifying. It crushed the ancient times, obliterated time, obliterated space, and obliterated the future. How could Jason be so powerful? He could only hold on hard, but just when he couldn't resist, the life essence of thousands of saints suddenly arrived. This is the supreme essence of life. Different from the magic medicine, the saints are on a higher level of life. The life essence they possess can even heal the injuries of Shenping. When the King of Thunder God was injured, relying on the life essence of 3 saints to prevent it from deteriorating, and among these 3 saints, the strongest is only Lumar, the peak of the sun god, but now, thousands of saints are sending their own the essence of life, among which were 5 saints who were invincible to the sun god. This kind of power immediately brought the energy in Jason's body watermark to an extreme. Jason felt as if his body was about to explode, and at this moment, the urge to transcend the Tao, use medicine to enter the Tao, and become the God King rose even more strongly from his mind. That's all, we're going to die anyway, so it's better to let go and fight. Jason's eyes flickered, no longer suppressing the impulse. Wow! A large number of laws of heaven and earth came. Between heaven and earth, countless divine powers, thoughts, and powers of destiny rolled in, surrounding Jason. At the same time, a power representing the supreme law rolled in. This power of law rolled in, different from the power of law when Jason was promoted in the past. This is the breath from heaven and earth, something from the deepest level of the God realm, transcending heaven, earth, and the avenue. But when this power came to Jason, it showed a different situation. The heaven, earth, and universe seemed to feel that Jason was about to escape from his control. Suddenly, the sky became angry, and a series of catastrophes of annihilation appeared in the sky. Demonic thoughts also crazily entered Jason's body watermark, trying to drag him into hell. This key the catastrophe of world destruction? Bayu God King's body suddenly shook, shock in his eyes. Suddenly, he laughed again. I didn't expect that you actually want to promote yourself to the God King. Haha, are you kidding me? I, Bayu, have been alive for hundreds of millions of years. I have seen many talented people want to promote themselves to the God King. Just wait for your transformation. Bayu God King showed an excited expression on his face. At this moment, Jason finally understood the true meaning of transformation. Heaven and earth are just one big cage. To advance to the God King without absorbing the heart of the God King is to completely break this cage and not be bound by the way of heaven. This is not tolerated by God, and will be spurned by God and punished by God. At this moment, Jason fell into a more dangerous situation. There is an attack from the Bayu God King outside, and punishment from the sky inside. Jason is extremely dangerous. The way of the God of medicine is to grasp the palm of reincarnation, life and death, transcend the world, and live forever. The sky cannot cover my eyes, the earth cannot bury my body, and everything in the world is in my mind. This is the real God of medicine. Jason roared silently in his heart. He raised his head and looked at the arrow, and unprecedented power burst out of his body. In history, it is said that there has never been a God King who promoted himself. The earliest 8 God King hearts were accidentally formed when the heaven and earth were formed. After being obtained by others, they became the 8 earliest God Kings in the world. In addition, other than that, there is no 9th self-promoted medicine god, and there have always been only 8 God Kings in the world. In the history of billions of criminals in the world of gods, there have been many geniuses, many of whom are like Moxin in ancient times and today, with great talents, but none of them succeeded, and all of them fell into the world. God King Bayu, as one of the 8 God Kings in the heavenly God realm, naturally knows this history. Now that he saw Jason promoted himself to God King, he couldn't help laughing. Hoo-ho! A large swath of colorful flames suddenly appeared in the sky. This was a world-destroying calamity fire that was enough to burn everything in the world. A large swath of calamity fire enveloped Jason, seeming to completely burn his body, and Jason also felt suddenly, some power came upon him, causing the divine power in his body's watermark to begin to dissolve and collapse. In countless billions of years of history, geniuses have emerged one after another. Because they could not get the heart of the God King, they fought against the God King themselves, and they all fell into the world-destroying fire and the rules of transformation. My lord, behind Jason, the hearts of all the Saint clan members are full of worry. Wow! The sound of boundless waves of divine power rang out. Behind everyone, in the fountain of life, the figure of Lan Yu Gusen passed through for such a long time. Time finally solidified, and a pair of blue wings appeared on her body, like an angel descending from heaven, full of sacred aura. Your Highness Princess. The leader of the Holy Clan and others spoke excitedly, but their hearts were filled with emotions. Her Royal Highness the Princess was finally resurrected, but the Holy Clan is also about to perish now. Huh? The royal family of the Holy Clan has finally appeared? Such a strong breath of life, yes, if I get her and refine her, I, Bayu, might be able to surpass my current strength immediately and become the strongest among the 7 God Kings. Thoughts surged in Bayu's heart. Jason. Lan Yu Gusen's eyes fell on Jason in the great catastrophe of the world, and many memories emerged in her mind. At this moment, whether it was the memory of the God realm tens of thousands of years ago, or the following war between the God Kings, or even everything in the Jintong Palace in the cloud swamp of Stern Continent emerged clearly. Huh! Lan Yu Gusen's figure flew forward and flew towards Jason. Haha, come here. Suddenly, Bayu God King laughed loudly, and a supreme divine power came to capture Lan Yu Gusen. Shwa. At this moment, in the void of the God realm that day, a strong white light suddenly came down, and a tall and strong man appeared. This strong man was covered in white feathers, and he directly punched Bayu God King's attack. He was intercepted. King Tianyun, what are you doing? Do you want to be my enemy, Bayu? Bayu God King roared, staring at the other party, coldly. Being your enemy? Bayu, what are you talking about? Tianyun God King smiled lightly, this nightmare swamp is not your Bayu's territory, and this Saint clan is not something Bayu can monopolize alone. Okay, very good. Bayu God King looked at Tianyun God King coldly, then let's not do anything, let's see who can have the last laugh. Bayu God King was secretly jealous. This Tianyun God King is about the same strength as himself. If he had blocked it, he might not have been able to get the royal family of the Holy Clan at all. But fortunately, he had already informed Shihuang God King and the others, waiting for them. Come, let's see what else this Tianyun God King can do. Unfortunately, by then, I won't be able to monopolize this holy royal family. Haha, Tianyun, it's really lively here. At this moment, another burst of laughter rang out, and a tall figure walked out of the void again, exuding a terrifying aura. God King of Southern Universe. Bayu God King and Tianyun God King both looked over. To be continued. Welcome to, To vote for recommendations and monthly votes. New book recommendation, Tao Seal Introduction. Dharma doors in the world are divided into 3 categories. 1. I pray for the immortality of the physical body, the immortality of the evil spirit, and the immortality of the soul. A wisp of spirit escapes from reincarnation, seizes the body, and is reincarnated. Through the body of Taoist priest Chen Chaoyang, it enters the mysterious and magnificent world. Humanity, imperial power, ghosts and gods. Who is responsible for the ups and downs of immortality? I only have a heart as strong as iron and can fight my way through the world. P.S. To support the author and originality, please create an account and collect the link, yuanchuang/book/*******58.html link/f I=UTF-8 and K =%E9% 81% 93% E5% 8 D% B0 Introduction to Only My Sword Saint. In a small border town, the cold wind blows. Black evil descends from the sky, and blood flows all over the city. Blood flowers are covered with it. The snowflakes dance with the wind. Is it a vendetta? Or a massacre? In the snow, the old man fell into the valley to save his grandson, but disappeared without a trace. Carrying the blood debt of the city, he was worried about his whereabouts. Let's look at that thin figure. Dance the blade in your hand, sweep away the thorns, and rise up in the face of adversity in life.